And with Mary Morrissey, that was very true. To work closely with Mary Morrissey is an investment, to say the least. And at that time, when I started with her, it was such an investment. I had no idea how I was going to pay beyond the down payment. But like you said, it was like an investment, and that it's not just the return in terms of the money, but it's the return. I used to have multiple health problems, and I was on a myriad of medication that practically been declared all are chronic conditions, and you can expect to be on all these medications, like a whole row of them. And I was on them. The very least was 20 years. Like, and so to have the gift to be able to learn, and after being studying with her for 2 years, to let go all the medications completely, and that's been like 7 years now or something, and so forth. That's like, it's not just in terms of money. Maybe if it's business, but also when if it's business and your business great, then you are happy and you have more peace of mind and your relationship better if you don't have to work 80 hours a week, right? So it's really coaching, the return is multiple fold in multiple different way.
Yeah, that's great. First of all, I'm super happy to hear that you're in great health. And you know what, I've heard other stories, and we were both on the Brave Thinking last weekend, the weekend before, and it was can you tell us, like, how does that, because there was a couple of different people that spoke about that, saying that they had crazy health complications, but then after studying with Mary Morrissey, they were like all better. And so can you speak a little bit like more, like, is it because you're centered, because like what is it that made that transition to that healthy body and mind?
I think there is a few different reasons for that. The first one is anything that's anything like talking about Mary Morrissey, anything that's not going along with who you are, so to say. Like Mary and both Mary Morrissey and Bob Proctor. I studied to a degree with Bob Proctor too. We always say that anything that is all our fear and our anxiety and our anguish, and this is very true with grief as well. We see that all our emotions, unexpressed emotions, our desire to grow, that because of fear we hold back, and so on and so forth, it turned into in our body into something else. And so that's what disease for. It's disease. And so a lot of disease, a lot of the chronic illness, and people that has one of the problem I had was IBS, inflammatory irritable bowel syndrome. Another one was depressions, and another one was actually heart problem. and all of those is basically a lot of different energy that's unexpressed, and so now when we learn things, the skills and tools to be able to thrive, then naturally we are able to understand life and navigate life, and also we are less fearful, we're less suppressed if you really, really truly practice all these things, and at the same time, like you said, being more centered. And when we are able to have more ease, we release the disease. It's basically, I think, is one way. And then the other thing is, we a lot of this teaching teach us to be grateful, to have a more open heart, and we know that, like Dr. There is you might have seen this, the Dr. David Hawkins vibrational energy.
Absolutely, I have it memorized. That's one of the most. It's the most important thing. They used to teach us in school, Maslow's pyramid, and this is more important. So, like, I was just talking today. It's I mean, shame and grief, right? 20 to 30. Love or like there's Christy Marie Sheldon, who speaks about love or above, being at 500, and she's fantastic, and being at like joy, like 600, enlightenment. it is. Yeah, put it up again if you want. Yeah, like, cause sorry, I kind of like
Sure.
the best thing ever. Everyone should have one of these in the. Put it
Yeah.
closer. Put it closer to. Yeah, everyone needs to know this. Like I memorized it. Yeah, absolutely.
And so you can see that, and we know gratitude runs in the, in the 500 and range, the 500-600 range, and we know actually life and the universe, that's where they vibrate in the 500-600-700 range. And for us to be able, if we are able to be in that state more, then we are more in flow with the universe. And the way Mary and Morrissey and Bob Proctor shares it, it's like, you are vibrating at the vibration where the disease, which is a lot of them come from anger, fear, grief, and so forth, doesn't exist. And it's very easy. It can be, if we're not mindful, you can slip back down, and then that's when you experience the same thing over. And with practice, then were able to stay at this state that is a lot more in flow with the universe. And the universe in general as a whole is vibrating smoothly. So in my personal experience, at least, those are the two main reason.
Yes.
And then also, I mean, all of life success principles and coaching teaches things like disciplines and recognizing our habit, right? And so we will we will recognize and be able to have the discipline and so forth to change the habit. I used to eat differently. And I used to have to take Claritin or some kind of antihistamine every day, because I used to have all these allergies. And then one day somebody told me, well, hey, how about if you try clean eating and just let go one thing at a time? And sure enough, I find out that it's the gluten. And now I'm not saying this is true for everybody. This is just for me. It's the gluten that's kind of make me feel bloated and moody.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And then it's the dairy that caused the allergy. And nowadays, I can eat dairy product for 2 days. And then beyond that, if I continue, I actually will get my allergy back.
Yeah. You're preaching to the choir because same thing. I had Claritin, and it started a few years ago. And I used to take one, same thing as you, every day. And for me, all it would happen is if I scratched my skin, and it would just turn all red. Okay, like red, red, red. And I would start feeling on my ears like kind of heat. And then I went to a naturopath. It's just what you said. He went, and he was, speaking of power versus force, he was a master of kinesiology, right? He was also a doctor of kinesiology. And he tested different things, and it found exactly what you said. It was gluten and eggs. Right? Gluten and eggs were the big ones. And dairy, I try to minimize dairy. I have a little bit of cheese, like on, very, very little bit here and there. My personal belief is nobody should drink milk. But, anyways, that's based because of the casein, because of the studies, because it's cancer causing, because all dairy products are cancer causing. And it's just a big conspiracy. We won't get into too deep into that, but exactly what you said, I know. And then I'm knock on wood, I am always in perfect health, and I attribute it to eating clean, exercising every day, sweating out the toxins, sleeping well, and being happy and being in gratitude, in a state of gratitude, like all the time. It's funny because just today, again, in perfect synchronicity, I was talking to David Jolks, who I did a podcast with, and the podcast that we did was all about gratitude. When I was on featured with him, I wanted to talk to you though about like being your background of being a doctor and so well educated. Was it difficult for you to accept some of these things, vibrational things, or some things that maybe, I don't want to say contradict, but maybe aren't directly maybe in line with some of the conventional medicine, Western medicine?
I would say it's not as difficult to me as I think with some probably for some other people. Probably because my background. I grew up. My background. I grew up in Indonesia with. I'm a Chinese descent, growing up in Indonesia, and so growing up, I see a lot of people, if you hear the traditional Chinese medicine of like so long before even the Western medicine, right? And so I grew up with that. My grandfather is actually like a little bit of a medicine man. And apparently he never gone to medical school, and but he has all these things that truly does fix everybody when and so I learned of growing up that there are beyond Western medicine. And then if you I imagine you probably heard about the Heart Math Institute. And there is a lot of study in there, study about vibrations and this and that. And so there is actually a lot of scientific backing up to a lot of these different things that we talk about. Even just like the dance away sadness with the vibrations that Dr. Joe Dispenza discovered. This one, the vibration thing is by Dr. David Hawkins, who is a psychiatrist. So there's actually, if you really look into that, and at the beginning, I think I was at the state where I know I got to change, or I'm going to disintegrate. It's basically, and my exposures to different things allow me to say, you know what, the way I am doing this, and that's the other thing too. The way I have been doing this apparently not working. The first 40 years of my life, I thought I'm doing this and that. Yes, I'm a doctor, I'm a board certified, and that all cool here. And at the same time, everything inside disintegrating and fall apart. Apparently, it's time for me to learn something else and something different. And perhaps when we done everything and then at the same time thing doesn't work, it's a sign from life that wake up, there's something more. So that's for me. And so I just decided to have an open hand and said, okay, you know what let me welcome what works and just give it a try for 3 months, give it a try for 6 months. And what I thought working is not working anyway, and so why not give it a try and see. And very soon with appropriate coaching, you see results in 3 to 6 months, not the whole way through, but you see results within a short time. And that's like I was like, okay, you know what, let's continue doing this and give it a try little by little.
Very cool. Very, very nice. Very nice. Yeah, it's nice to have that open mind and stuff like that. And yeah, I think that a lot of Eastern medicine, and Western medicine, as it grows, some of it catches up and to prove that these crazy ideas of Eastern medicine are actually hugely relevant. Not only that, it's just there's so much wisdom in them. And like a few things. So my father's from India, right? So he was talking about every Tuesday. It's a lot of Indian people they'll fast on Tuesdays, right? And they'll fast and then seeing how beneficial fasting is. Like it's just, and they have to do it the right way, given, and that's a whole other subject. But right. Fasting is just really, really good for your body. But they would do that anyways. And then there's just things like using clarified butter. Using clarified butter is way more healthy for you than using you're not supposed to use obviously corn oil, but anything like canola, any of that kind of stuff. But clarified butter. But in India, they've always been using clarified butter. They have always known it. They've always known this. They call it ghee, and they have always been using it. I grew up, on that, having that. And then it was like, I reached out to my father. I'm like, oh, you were so many times. I reached out to my parents. I'm like, you were right. You were right. You were always right. Right all along. Right. And yeah, that's really interesting. So look, I wanted to ask you, having this amazing background and all this knowledge and stuff like that, is there anything that you want to share with the listener that maybe nobody normally asks you, or some piece of wisdom or insight that you found through your journey that might be able to help people?
Well, two things actually. I would say first is to remember we are all like fingerprints. If you look at your fingerprints, we know that in general there is no two people has the same combination of fingerprints. And if you look at your fingerprint closely, each fingers actually has slightly different prints than the other one. And so to remember that we are all like our fingerprints, we are all different. And at the same time, there is no good or bad fingerprint. It's not like your fingerprints is better and this fingerprints is better than this one or whatever. There is no good or bad fingerprints. We are all different, and it's meant to be different. We're all meant to be unique. We're all meant to be different. And so we don't have to worry to try to be like somebody else's. They're not better or worse than us. And then to also remember that since every finger is different, talking about feeling and being able to have peace of mind as we move through any adversities, as we move through life, know that your feelings is like your different fingerprints. It's different from time to time. You might be experiencing the same thing twice, and each time it feels different, and your feelings are meant to be different than your sister and your brother and your significant other, whomever. And so we are meant to be unique, and unique from at moment to moment. And there is no need to say, oh, why did I do that? Why was I doing this, and so forth. And it's there is no right or wrong feeling, and you're not wrong. You're not good enough. We are all wonderful, beautiful, and unique moment to moment. So that's the main thing that I would say I learned through my journey, and in general is it's just and if you believe in yourself, and allowing, actually more than just believing in yourself, if you believe in yourself and allowing support and take the actions, everything is possible.
Yeah, beautifully said, beautifully said. So thank you so much, Dr. Birgitte. I really appreciate you coming on and speaking to our audience. I will book my laser session with you, that's for sure.
Thank you.
Thanks for that kind offer for everyone, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of people excited for that. So with that, I'll wish you a successful and peaceful mind and a wonderful evening, and I'm sure we'll talk super soon. And thank you again.
Thank you so much for having me with you today. Thank you so much, Andrew.
Okay, great.